I will be a full-time. I will retire from my present job. I'm not looking for a state pension. You know, I've had some, remarks made about that. I'm not looking for a state pension. I'm looking to do what I love doing, and that's constituent service, regardless of whether it's in my community, in my job, and that's where I'd like to be.
Are there? So you've got you and Burr are in the Republican primary. That'll be decided on September 14th.
Yes.
Are there key differences between you and Mr. Burr?
No, the only difference is, Bob is an incumbent. He's a nice guy. I've met him. I haven't any issue with that.
An incumbent in the sense that he's on the selectmen and
he's been a member of the Board of Selectmen, and in the process of the campaign, and I notice he focuses a lot on being a selectman and what he has done in the town and all of the various things in the town. Well, this is a 10-town race. I've run in all 10 towns, I've worked in all 10 towns, I've got my signatures in all 10 towns, and it's more than just one town location. As I said earlier, there are nuances to all of the towns and their concerns, and there are unique things. 40B has impacted many of the towns, and I think had I been a selectman, I would have challenged the fact that 40B basically takes my right as a selectman away from me to make decisions. See, when they're building affordable housing, someone said, well, are you against affordable housing? No, I'm not. I'm 150% for affordable housing. The problem that I have is if you, Frank, want to put a deck on your house,
right,
you have to get the approval of the abutters to the abutters. You have to go before the town. You have to, whether it be a variance or a building permit or a zoning change or conservation commission, you have to go through all of these. I don't care whether you're building a deck or developing a 300 to 400 unit building. You should have to go through that same process. I've seen, situations where they're going to go in and develop. They go to the town, they say, I want to develop 300 units here. This is what I want to do. The town looks at it and says, well, wait a minute. You can't do that because of this and that. Well, then I'm going to make it 40B. Now all those rules go out the window.
Right. If I could just interrupt for 1 second, yeah. Richard, for the benefit of viewers who may not be familiar with 40B,
okay,
it's a state law that allows developers to bypass local zoning if that town has less than 10% units that are deemed by the state to be affordable.
Right.
Correct?
Right, you're correct. The problem is, the key word that you said is bypass.
Correct.
So they've basically usurped the responsibility of the local cities and towns to govern themselves by bypassing and allowing that to happen. Now, affordable housing, and there are some cases where they say, okay, you don't have the amount you deserve, so we're going to build this affordable housing. 10% of the units is going to be set aside. If those units aren't sold in a prescribed period of time, the whole complex goes to market value. There is no longer affordable housing in it. Another thing that happens is you can build a whole affordable housing unit, and then what happens is if the developer decides to pay off the mortgage early, it goes to market value. So I'd be surprised if it doesn't pass at the ballot. It is a question on the ballot, and people work.
It's the November ballot, right, where the 40B
I think it's
is?
Question 2 might be the 40B, to repeal the 40B.
Right.
And I think that it'll probably be repealed at the ballot box when people understand it. If not, it really has to be taken up in the legislature. Right now, it's been stymied in the committee and not brought out on the floor for a decision.
Okay. Burr is also against it. He also mentioned healthcare reform, and healthcare discussions around healthcare are sort of at all levels of government. The president obviously was successful in finally getting some legislation through. What are your thoughts on healthcare?
Well, I think here in the cities and towns, what they're talking is a lot of towns are talking to move their healthcare costs into the GIC, the Government Insured Commission. The problem with that, as we discussed a few minutes ago, is it seems to be a panacea that everyone says, well, okay, if we shift our costs into the GIC, we're going to be that much better. When this all started back in March, April, May, about some towns going into GIC, it was $40 million in debt the GIC was.
The GIC was.
Today, it's $68 million in debt. So, in the process of trying to cover those costs, deductibles went up, Like if you were paying $5 and $10 for your, prescription drugs,
Yep.
it could have gone up 100%. Your emergency room visit went up. In all areas of medical coverage, they've all gone up. And even though we just passed the healthcare, the national healthcare, which is something, a lot of it isn't supposed to take effect until 2013. Trust me when I tell you, a lot of it's taking effect today. Senior citizens on fixed incomes are going to feel it in their deductibles, and the average family is going to feel it.
Speaking of the average family versus unions, and that's obviously not exactly a fair comparison, but at the recent town meeting, the GIC did come up.
Right.
And there was some concern voiced that the unions weren't, as a group, buying into it. And the reason for the concern was the cost of the town. And so that there are certain, the feeling seems to be percolating out there that unions aren't stepping up to do what they might to help relieve some of the costs to the towns and cities. And is there a solution to this, or it feels like it's becoming kind of an us-them thing? Do you see any middle ground there that could be achieved?
Yeah, I think that going to when you've negotiated, collective bargaining is something that you've negotiated in good faith, regardless of what level, whether it's in town, state, federal. You've negotiated. What happened at the town meeting, I thought it was repugnant to get up there and pit non-union employees against union employees. If they were to make changes to those contracts without negotiation, it would have been litigated and cost the town in litigation costs. So the unions negotiated in good faith, the non-union employees have been negotiating in good faith. So I thought it was very unfair to the non-union employees to say, okay, well, we're not going to give you yours until they give up theirs.
You're referring to the chapter, is it the chapter 13, I think it is, the employees?
Yeah, when I watched the town meeting and I saw what was going on, I thought that was awful. I thought it was awful. And it's a terrible thing when you pit one segment of the population against the other. They're all working very, very hard. Whether you're union or non-union, they're working very, very hard. And they should have negotiated in good faith with the non-union employees here in the town. Instead of doing so, they pitted one against the other. That was an awful thing to do.
Okay. We're going to need to wind up in a couple minutes, but I want to give you the opportunity to voice any other additional opinions, thoughts, impressions you have about the race going forward. And why is Richard Livingston the right guy?
Why is Richard Livingston? I think, first of all, the idea that I'm going to restore it to constituent services. And my interest is going to be that of the constituents throughout all 10 of the towns. First and foremost, I'm not going to be practicing law. I'm not going to be running an investment, trying to build my own business or something. I will be full-time constituent service working for the people of the various towns. For instance, right now, take for instance the 457 families that participate in Milton Youth Hockey. They look forward to the Ulen Rink. The Ulen Rink has served this community, the Miltonites, for almost 3 generations. And now the opportunity was never ever given exclusively to the people of the town of Milton. The caveats had made it virtually impossible for the people of this town and give them the time to be able to purchase that rink or to set up a foundation to run that rink. And I think it's unfortunate because down the road, those 407 families that participate in the hockey will be left out in the cold. And that's something I will be there to go to a meeting about the Ulen Rink from the constituents' viewpoint. I will be serving the people of this town. Take, for instance, Houghton's Pond. They tore up all 4 baseball fields and they were going to build one multi-dimensional field in its place until the baseball families in the town of Milton saw it. So wait a minute. It's not where you're trying to get rid of baseball diamonds. With all of the kids in Little League and whatever, you're looking for fields.
Fields are always a scarce commodity.
It was a woman in the town that saw what was going on, was concerned, brought it to the attention of the other baseball families. They got together and lo and behold, they were able to come up with the funds to renovate all 4 of those baseball fields up in the Ulen Rink. The other thing I found that was awful was a situation where take over the DPW yard here at Route 28 on Randolph Avenue.
Right.
From Bench Cookie Factory up Highland Street, down Clifton Street and over Reedsdale Road. I'll just hold that. It was after the fact, you know, after all of these plans had been moving forward and percolating to build a super stop and shop down there, a small village marketplace or something, the people of the neighborhood were told about it.
Right.
And that to me, it should be bring it to the community and get the whole community. And don't pit the west side of town against the east side of town, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Together each accomplishes more. Team.
As it turned out, nothing's happened there, and the developer divested some of those properties. In hindsight, could there have been a better solution? I mean,
You know,
it seems that many times it becomes an all or nothing proposition.
Exactly.
Where could there have been something better than what we've got, which is simply it's just the DPW yard, it's not unused property,
Well, in hindsight,
without imposing an unwanted
Right.
development on that neighborhood?
the key ingredient, and as you say, in hindsight,
So the key is,
the key ingredient is the community. Had, in hindsight, it's 2020. We can all do the Monday night quarterbacking after the fact. But my personal feeling in the situation is had the community been brought into this, look, we have these investors that are interested in X, Y, Z. What do you think? Maybe if they scaled down the project, the community may have bought it. It's like, for instance, when I was involved in town meeting, as I spoke to you earlier about, I brought together a proposal called MOM, Milton Operation and Maintenance Program. I brought it to the town hall, and I said, we as a town should push to get the big dig dirt, and we should close and cap that landfill ourselves. And based on the numbers that I came up with, the tipping fees was $18 a ton, 20 to 25 tons in a truck, 25 trucks a day. We would bring in $40 million to $105 million within a year into our treasury. You know what happened, Frank?
the golf course.
Investment capitalists took the thing, got the big dig dirt for Zippo, same as the town of Milton would have done, and they made $106 million in a year. And we don't have anything in our treasury to show for that idea. And I just bring the ideas up, you know? And that's what I want to do as a state senator, bring ideas that will help make life a little bit better for the next generation.
Great. Well, Richard, thanks so much for the time.
I thank you for your kindness and giving
bet.
me this opportunity.
Good luck with the rest of the campaign. We look forward to the outcome. I'm Frank at My Town Matters. You can reach me at frank@mytownmatters.com. Please send your comments and emails, and have a great day. Richard, there you are.
Thanks
so much.
I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
I'm happy to do it.